In a world gone mad, only rationality and common sense can save it. It's Andrew and Jerry Save the World with your hosts, Andrew Langer and Jerry Rogers. And now, here's Andrew and Jerry.
Well, hey there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Andrew and Jerry Save the World. Episode 68, Andrew and Jerry talk guns, Grime, and Gavin Newsom. I'm one of your hosts, Andrew Langer.
Jerry Rogers.
And there's a lot going on in the world right now. I mean, we've got, as we record this, we've got a presidential candidates debate tonight. We have a looming government shutdown going on, but there's a lot happening in the news as Gavin Newsom seemingly jockeys to put himself in the running for 2024. I don't think it's going to happen with him in 2024, but certainly setting himself up to run for president at some point in time as his state falls apart. We got a bunch of stuff going on. Jerry, you wanted to talk about Newsom and crime. What?
Sure, but let me just generally comment about the broad topics of today's program. Number one, I'm sorry, the GOP, the Republican Party, you should not be on a ballot anywhere in the U.S. if you refuse to debate. I'm sorry if you're up in the polls by 40%, 50% lead, then you don't show up for the debate. You should not be. Okay. The rules should be that if you are gonna run and you are polling at 50% above everyone else, and you refuse to show up, well, then guess what? You're out. Well, okay. And call it the Trump rule.
Okay, but
I am sick and tired. I'm sorry. I am sick and tired of Donald Trump just manhandling our public discourse and our public debate.
Right. Listen,
this is beyond pro-Trump, anti-Trump. We got to get rid of this guy, or he has to show up.
Well, no. I mean, listen, I think Donald Trump says plenty of loony things. I honestly, Jerry, don't think that it matters one iota whether
they don't have the debate
shows up.
They don't have the debate.
No. I do think it's important for folks to get to know these other candidates because Lord knows, Jerry. Hold on, Jerry. My opinion has changed on these candidates because of these debates.
But on half information, how can you really understand Tim Scott or Nikki Haley or Governor DeSantis if they're not going up against the front runner? Everything else is secondary. It'd be like because
I think that Donald Trump, wherever Donald Trump appears, becomes a distraction and takes away. I thought this during the 2016 presidential debates.
Donald, if he's such a distraction, then the party, we talked about this before.
All right, but
the party should
gets
tell
to the
him
second part
you're
of your
not.
question.
We're not going to let you run.
Posit something to you. I will say something though, that I am roundly disappointed in every other candidate that they didn't have the foresight to do what Donald Trump is doing.
I'm sorry. What is Donald Trump doing?
He's going to go and speak to the UAW, and he's going to present to them the fact that the Biden administration is speaking out of both sides of their mouth, as Democrats do. I'm sure what Donald Trump is going to do is he's going to go to the UAW and say they are trying to destroy your jobs.
No, he's not.
All right, what do you think he's going to go to the UAW?
I think he's going to go yabba 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 yabba, Trump, yada yada yada, indictment, yada yada yada.
So, Jerry, because remember what turned me off originally when Donald Trump ran and started to run in 2015 was he went before the auto workers and he gave a speech about slapping a 35% tariff on all imported cars. And I was like, God, this guy is completely crazy that he wants to do these things. So when Donald Trump does know his audience, and so he's going to go there. It is one of these things where this is why the White House, this is why Joe Biden went last night and spent an hour on the picket lines. They flew all the way.
How ridiculous, by the way.
Right.
That event yesterday was thin, was ankle deep. There was no substance. There were like 8 people there. I'm exaggerating. There was more than 8.
But Jerry,
I got to comment on what you just said. A couple things. Number one, what Donald Trump should do. Remember, the only reason why Joe Biden went yesterday was because Trump announced a week and a half ago that he was going to go to the picket line with the striking workers. So it was Trump who moved Biden. That's the truth.
Right.
Biden and the White House were caught with their pants, their
and every other Republican candidate was also caught the same way.
Around their ankles. Yes. And here's the thing, though. If Trump goes today, what he should do is exactly what you said, and that is make it clear. And I said this yesterday as I'm watching Joe Biden on the picket line. He's talking about working people. Well, your EV mandate is going to cost these companies tens of billions of dollars, which means lower wages, less job security for American workers. It also means that EV mandates, electric vehicle mandates, and all of these green energy subsidies and corporatism and cronyism, it means sending hardworking jobs for hardworking Americans overseas to China. And again, the union president knows this. It's a sham. And here's the thing. Donald Trump, I will eat my hat tomorrow, Andrew, if Donald Trump goes there and makes a coherent argument as to why working automakers and manufacturing workers should vote for him. I'm telling you, it'll be all me, yabba, 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 yabba.
I think it'll be a hybrid of the two. I don't think it'll be a coherent argument, but I think it'll also. I think
what economist is right now giving any insight and
Jerry, I don't know
advice.
this. Well, hold on.
I know who. Nobody.
Well,
the guy's surrounded by nobody. Maybe Steve Moore might give him a phone call. This guy is being advised by his daughter-in-law and his son.
Okay,
that's it.
All right, time out for a second. Full stop. So number one, on this issue, the reason why this is near and dear to my heart is I am literally in the throes of writing testimony before the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration tomorrow. On this issue in which I make that very argument, because what we do know is
you should go then.
You
should go give the speech today, not Donald Trump.
But my point is, I'm giving the speech to NHTSA. We know that it takes fewer auto workers to make an electric vehicle than it does for them to make another kind of a car. And one would think that this would be attractive to the auto industry, except nobody wants an EV.
Ford last year lost $4.5 billion on electric vehicles. So where are the union leaders asking the president yesterday? The president was. This is why everything that happens everywhere is bullshit. Because the union president has the president there. He could simply say, Mr. President, if you're for working people, then let's take a second look at your Green New Deal, at the electric vehicle mandates, at your infrastructure bill, at your Inflation Reduction Act, because you're hurting
your drilling policy. This is all of the things that he's going to.
But he won't do it.
But I think he will. I don't think he'll do it well. I think it will be very brutish. I think it will be very, very blunt. It won't.
Where is it? Is it going to be outside? Is it inside?
I don't know where. I don't know where it is. But the point is, in the end, Jerry, just back to your other point about the issue of experts surrounding the president. At the very least, somebody said to Donald Trump, because I don't think Donald Trump came up with this on his own. Somebody said to Donald Trump, instead of going to the debate, you want to mess with those guys, go to the UAW meeting. So at least someone is.
Well, you know what? And part of my language, Trump screwed that up too, because what he should have done was gone yesterday. He shouldn't have allowed a day for the president to wiggle in there, because guess what?
No, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. Again, it comes down to contrast, right? Because Joe Biden went, he was feckless. He was clearly.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Only you and me, people like us, actually watch what Biden says. Did you hear the news last night? All the news, every channel.
I don't think that's
every channel.
It's true. that nobody watches what Joe Biden is doing.
Oh, no.
Jerry, this is why
no one watches.
Listen, you work for Real Clear Policy.
That's different. Real Clear Policy is different. People, my father, your father, well, maybe your dad.
No, but what I'm saying, Jerry, is you've seen the polls over Real Clear Politics.
I don't believe the polls. You believe the polls?
I believe that.
No, they're all nonsense.
When they're all saying consistently that Americans think that Joe Biden. Now, whether or not it means that Joe Biden, that Donald Trump is really ahead by a gazillion points.
Look, if it's about consistency in polls, there's one outlier that put Trump's up. Every other poll has Biden crushing Trump.
But so, my point, Jerry, is we're looking at the consistent numbers are about the president's approval ratings in terms of handling the economy, right. The perception that he's old, the perception that he's.
But this is the problem, though. This you're laying out the problem. There's been no more a person in the office more vulnerable than Joe Biden.
Right.
The American people dislike him.
Right.
But he's still going to win if it's Donald Trump.
But again, that has nothing to do with whether or not people are watching what's going on TV.
No,
it has everything to do with the unpopularity of the other people, the craziness of the other people.
But you're missing the point, and that is no one is watching. No voter anywhere, except for folks involved in politics, actually watched the president yesterday. What they watched was Good Morning America, ABC News, CNN. That's what they watched. And every single report, because I went through them all this morning for Real Clear Policy. Every when I say every single one said historic. Every single one said this president showed up.
I don't think that that's what the American people. I don't think that the American people believe that. I don't think the American people believe what the media is spewing, that Joe Biden went and shook up the entire race yesterday by showing up there. I don't think they believe that.
But see, again, it doesn't matter, because what it does is it allows Biden to stay in. It gives Biden a little bit more credibility. It allows him to stop. He's not going to stop the rock rolling down the hill on top of him. But this is a little more resistance. This is the problem. Joe Biden, any other Republican, including Romney, any other Republican would crush Joe Biden. Donald Trump will lose.
Okay,
because that's why all these negative numbers don't matter.
Well, again, there are all kinds of caveats in there, and we're still waiting to see whether or not.
Here's a funny thing. Here's a funny. Let's turn something on its head. Joe Biden could go out in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot someone in the head, and he'd still beat Donald Trump, and that's the truth.
In a head-to-head matchup with no third-party candidate, I would agree with you.
Yes.
So we have to, and we do have to make that.
So my point is. My point is that the GOP knows this. The Republican Party leaders, bosses, they're still party bosses. The GOP should decide if the Donald doesn't show, the Donald doesn't get on the ballot.
See, I disagree with that thesis in the end, because
why?
I want these up because the moment Donald Trump steps on that stage, it becomes Donald, and I'm going to, now pardon my French, it becomes Donald Trump taking a shit all over every other candidate. And it doesn't gain those candidates anything, and it just makes Donald Trump appear stronger.
I think that Tim Scott, because of his personality and because of his good character, I think Ron DeSantis, because of his policy chops, and because of his record, both those men would destroy Donald Trump.
I'm not so sure. I mean, again, but given that, right? I mean, I would have said the same thing about both Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz back in 2016.
You're so high on Ted Cruz. Every time Ted Cruz,
listen, Jerry, but without Donald Trump on that stage, Ted Cruz was the front runner.
But only because there was no one else.
Well,
Ted Cruz.
Jerry, that's not true. I mean, I'm sorry.
I don't want this to happen.
Jerry, Cruz. I'm sorry. We can't rewrite history here. 2016, you had Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, you had Jeb Bush, you had
my point for me. You had
a massive bench of stars.
No, it wasn't. No, United States. Look, outside
now, whether or not any of them could have beaten Hillary Clinton is a whole
outside of JFK and outside of Barack Obama, there's never been a United States senator to win the presidency.
Yeah,
and so this idea of Rubio was running to be vice president. And I know you like Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz, depending upon what happens in Texas, will lose the Texas Senate seat.
He's not going to lose Texas Senate seat.
This guy is not. I'm telling you, I don't want it to happen.
Yeah.
But if I had to predict today, I would say that Ted Cruz is the only Republican in Texas who could lose the Senate seat.
No, I would say George P. Bush would.
Well, yeah, all right. Yes. I agree with that. But let me just say this about Ted Cruz. Every time he speaks, it's like scratching across the chalkboard.
I like hearing Ted Cruz speak. So, this is a personal preference here. But again,
But my point is that Donald Trump was lucky insofar as there was no governor who had the policy chops and the balls like DeSantis. There was no good character.
Except the problem is that on a stage, as was made clear in the previous debate. Now, listen, again, we'll see what happens tonight.
You know who could have beat
Ron DeSantis comes off as awkward on that stage.
And I think having Trump on the stage would raise his game. It'd be like it's like football.
I think
you play to your competition.
I think if Donald Trump steps on that stage, it becomes the Donald Trump versus Chris Christie show.
No, I think I don't agree. I think it's exactly what DeSantis needs to raise him to the next level.
Now, on the other hand, listen, would I love to see, Nikki Haley debate Donald Trump directly? Yeah, I would love to see that.
Yeah.
But that's just it.
The Republican Party is the only political institution in the world that has a victory, that has had several victories right in front of them, and they've allowed Donald Trump to ruin it every time.
Except for
Donald Trump.
I'm going to say you said political parties, otherwise I would have said the New York Yankees, Jerry.
Yeah, look. Stop.
Sorry, you got the full snort there, Jerry.
Listen, the Yankees are
all right.
Stop. The Yankees are 80 and 77. Yeah. Granted, they're not going to go to the playoffs this year, but if they win 2 more games out of 5, they'll be 82 and 80, which will be their, I think, 31st or 32nd season of a winning season, and it's unheard of in sports.
Okay.
I mean, so the Yankees, even when they lose,
you and I have talked about and listen, I love the Yankees. I do love the Yankees.
Well, I don't know about that last remark. I don't know what you love.
Well, no, I love the Yankees, but again, I'm just talking about snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, Jerry. That's all.
But here's the thing, right? The Donald Trump says the 2020 election was stolen from him. You and I are on record explaining how he is partially right there, in the sense that the establishment, big tech, the rules were rewritten. Right. The election was rigged, not in a way that he says,
right,
but in a more dangerous way, Jerry, in terms of our democracy. But that being said, he lost 2020, and then he proceeded to lose 2022 in terms of the midterms. He also lost right after the presidential. He lost 2 Senate seats in Georgia. This guy is his own words. He's a loser.
Right,
and the Republican Party he's like dog shit that gets stuck on your shoe. That's what he is. Here's my analysis. I'm sorry. I'm a Christian. I'm going to use bad language. Donald Trump is like dog shit. Poop. You step in it. And it's no matter how much you clean your sneakers, you can't get rid of them out. You got to throw. Yeah, exactly.
I know a guy stepped in, high school, stepped in dog poop in his relatively new kicks.
Yep, throw him away.
That was it.
The only way to deal with Donald Trump, and so the Republicans can save the republic, is to throw him away.
Okay, but again, listen, there are so many problems in the end, which shows you how flummoxed the GOP is, because it is.
I said 2 curse words today. I apologize, Mom. I'm sorry.
Okay. It's okay. It's.
I love Jesus.
You got to listen.
I'm sorry.
So what's this? There is a debate that's happening, right, with Gavin Newsom. Is it Gavin Newsom and Ron DeSantis?
I don't know. Is it going to happen?
Who is Gavin Newsom? I believe there's a debate coming up.
Gavin Newsom, by the way, the governor of California, has been.
But by the way, hold on, time out for a second. You and I both agree that there is no possible way that Joe Biden is not going to be the Democratic nominee. I mean, absent something
No,
catastrophic,
he will
and
not be he will not be the nominee.
You don't think he's going to be the Democratic nominee?
No,
I think it's a lead pipe lock. He's going to be the Democratic.
No, absolutely not.
Okay, you think
No.
it's going to be Gavin Newsom or
No,
Kamala
no.
Harris?
It will not be.
Why?
Gavin Newsom.
All right. Let me hear your thesis on this.
All right. Well, here, the Democrats are brilliant. The progressives are better at political warfare than the right. That's why they win over and over and over again. What's going to happen is they're going to keep on attacking Donald Trump with these lawfare, with these indictments. With yesterday the big announcement that the Trump organization has engaged in fraud, and it's going to keep on happening because all it does is cause Trump to gain momentum in the GOP primary. So Trump will be the nominee. Horrible, no good, shouldn't happen. It means the end of the republic. But regardless of that, because Republicans are stupid, they will nominate Donald Trump and be manipulated by the press and be manipulated by the mainstream media and by progressives. Now, on the other side, though, it's key. They have to do this, and they will do this. They will keep Biden as the nominee for as long as they can. And then once they know Trump is a lock, Biden's gone.
Right. It's a play on what did they do in New Jersey? Was it Torricelli?
It was Torricelli, and Torricelli was a lock. He was a nominee. Then there was this incredible corruption issue, and they just got rid of him. And then they broke the law in New Jersey, and then they broke party precedent, and they just simply gave Lautenberg the line on election day. This is what they will do again. They now maybe Biden goes to the Democratic National Convention and he's nominated, he and Kamala Harris. But at the end of the day, they will pull him. It'll be health reasons. He'll have a stroke. Something will happen. He will not be on the line on election day, and it will be Wes Moore.
Oh, you think it'll be Wes Moore?
It'll be Governor Wes Moore. And here's why it won't be Gavin Newsom, because Gavin Newsom is like kryptonite outside of Sacramento. This guy can't catch a break in terms of policy. He has California. Even today, it's the 7th or 8th largest economy in the world. It could be the 2nd.
Yeah.
It has natural resources, natural beauty. It is a diverse population in the best sense, in that there are intellectuals, and there are engineers, and there are investors, but there are also men and women who work with their hands. Everything is in place in California for it to drive the country in terms of the economy. It doesn't because of Gavin Newsom, because he drives people out with regulations, with taxes. He's anti-parent. Just this week, the progressives in Sacramento passed a law that won't allow local school boards to deal with inappropriate books, and Newsom signed it. He's anti-parent. He's anti-reform.
He tries to moderate it by vetoing the bill about the parents getting the bill that would have
the gender affirming bill that
would have
taken. Oh, gee, my goodness! So I have a 6-year-old who claims he is a she, and I try to deal with that by saying, no, you're pretending. I get this as imagination. You could be a she if you want to in terms of playing, but really you're a boy because God made you a boy. The Democrats want to take that parent, the child, away from that parent. Newsom vetoed that bill. The bill would have been struck down as unconstitutional anyway. But my point is that Gavin Newsom. Homelessness explosion.
Right. The only thing that California has going for it is the movie industry, Silicon Valley, and its gorgeous climate. Because they're doing everything they can to
and also the agricultural community. But even the movie industry is moving out. Right, they're moving to states where there are
to an extent. They listen. Still, the vast majority of entertainment is going to be produced for the foreseeable future in California, because that's where all the people are and that's where all the infrastructure is.
I guess, but I mean,
yes, there are. I literally just had
unfortunately for Idaho, and unfortunately for Colorado, and unfortunately for Texas, a lot of Hollywood infrastructure is moving out to these other states.
Well, right. I mean, yes, you're getting that. Certainly, Georgia is the most noted example.
Georgia,
despite,
and you know,
folks.
and for a long time it was New York. But New York ruined that. They had the Golden Goose, where you had big time movies being filmed there. It used to be back, 20 years ago, 25 years ago. If you wanted to film a scene in New York, you went to cities in Canada.
Right.
And,
Right.
and you pretended it was. I remember I watched a whole a movie once, and I forget the name of the movie, but it was supposed to have taken place in New York.
Right.
And I'm watching this. I'm like, where is this? And it turned out to be Toronto.
Well, right. It's like Captain America: Winter Soldier, which had a couple of scenes filmed in DC, but by and large was filmed in Canada.
Yeah. But my point is that Gavin Newsom, outside of California and New York, and the suburbs of Chicago, this guy won't play.
But here's the
and he's white. And he's a Democrat.
I think that it's interesting because James Carville just appeared on Bill Maher's Pothead podcast, whatever it is. I don't remember what it's called. It's the one where Bill Maher smokes a doobie.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm using that phrase, doobie. Bill Maher smokes a fatty and talks to his guests. Sometimes his guests smoke with him. But James Carville said that the three rising stars of the Democratic Party are Josh Shapiro, Andy Beshear, and Wes Moore.
Yes, he's right.
To me would seem
100% right.
The real issue, just to sort of square that circle on the issue of the nominee, right? It always comes down to, you have to all remember this, that one of the things that sets the Democratic National Committee apart from the Republican National Committee are the superdelegates, right? And despite the issue of calling themselves the Democratic Party and being all interested in democracy, what they are really doing, what they really have is a system where a group of elitists can turn around. By the way, Jerry is essentially calling for the Republicans to adopt
the Democrats. Again, the Democrats do it right. The Republicans do it wrong. We should have a mechanism to drop a loser, a dog poop.
Okay, so
loser,
Jerry, why not have ranked choice voting then?
We should do a show on it for lots of reasons. Number one, because I don't think my third choice should become I don't think choice number 2 or choice number 3 should ever be the winner.
This is the problem, right? I know it's not your number one choice, but the number one, by and large, number one choice amongst Republican voters now. Not
all right. I tell you what. All right,
it's Donald Trump. Okay.
You just made the point as to why I think ranked choice voting is not a positive, but it can be a positive when you want to control the outcome.
Well, I agree. Well, all of these things come in.
If you're a Democrat in Alaska, you want ranked choice.
If I'm ranking my choices right now, Ron DeSantis is like my number 2 choice, Jerry. So if he's a lot of people's number 2 choices, he would get the nomination.
Look, all right.
I'm here, and I wasn't all I'm saying. And I'm not.
No. I'm already on the record of saying that cities like Baltimore, Philadelphia, Newark, Camden, San Francisco, LA, you name the city, New York, should have ranked choice voting. If there is no viable opposition party in those jurisdictions, have ranked choice voting,
right? Just to try it out.
And I think also the Republicans have to do something, because they nominate losers: Bob Dole, John McCain, Mitt Romney, and now they're going to do the same thing with Donald Trump. And listen, let me tell you something. What happened in 2016 is an historic mistake. Trump was a reaction to the narcissism, the hubris of Barack Obama.
Right.
Agreed. However, Republicans wanted a tough guy, someone to say, "I'm for you. I'm going to fight back. I'm not going to play by their rules." That guy was Chris Christie. That was the guy. Yes, it was. Chris Christie was a popular, successful 2-term governor in a blue state who never compromised on principle. He was good on crime, good on social issues. He was pro-choice when it came to education, school choice. Man, and what happened was lawfare.
Right.
The Obama administration went after him with Bridgegate, and it damaged him enough where he lost his confidence and he decided to take a pass. It was, I'm telling you.
Sure, right. I mean, listen, this is again, Bob McDonald the same thing. When you sort of you go out there and
but Chris Christie,
I'm just
Chris
trying to
Christie
go back.
was the guy. He would have.
I'm just trying to.
He would have been the guy. Not
I'm
today, by
to,
the way. The Chris Christie of today is not the same guy who was the governor of New Jersey in 2015.
Right. Again, years of lawfare will do that to you. Are the dogs a problem in the background, Jerry?
No.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, if you can't hear the dogs, that's fine. There's some workmen working in my backyard. So I mean, here's the thing that I come back to, because now I'm trying to think about who was running. I honestly don't remember who was running in 2000, who was running in 04. Well, 04 was obviously, George W. Bush, but 08 and 16 and 12. I don't remember. I don't think any of my first choice candidate has ever gotten the nomination.
Well, I know for sure. For me, that's true, because I mean, I never voted in the primary. I didn't vote for George H.W. Bush in the primary. I voted for Buchanan, believe it or not.
Yeah.
As a protest. This has been a problem. This has been a problem.
I didn't vote in the primary in 92. I believe I cast a vote for. No. Well, I don't remember if I think.
Oh, in 88, in 88, I voted for Jack Kemp.
There you go. See, in 88, I was not eligible to vote in 88.
88, I voted for Kemp. In 92, I voted for Buchanan as a protest. There was no one else.
Right.
I didn't particularly like Pat Buchanan. He has since
Buchanan.
He's again, Buchanan in 92 was different than Buchanan in 2000. Buchanan became a racialist. He started to look at the race issues in a way that the left does. And in retrospect, I mean, I'm not proud of that vote, only because of how Buchanan turned out.
Right.
Buchanan judges. He makes political judgments based upon demographics and race, and I don't
categorically deny that. Yes. So anyway, I just it's a situation where not knowing how much.
Who was 96? It was Dole and who? Oh, it was. I remember. It was Dole, and it was
Pete DuPont,
and it was also the senator from
88
Pennsylvania. No, yeah, well, no.
Arlen Specter in 96. Arlen Specter, that's possible.
Arlen Specter, yeah.
Yes.
The point is that a lot of good men, good women don't run because here's the irony, and I'll end this on this, Andrew. The irony is that the fix is in anyway, right? The fix has always been in. It was always going to be Bob Dole. It was always going to be H.W. Bush. It was always going to be Romney. It was always going to be McCain. Republicans have this next guy up mentality. To a certain extent, Trump broke that. But my point is, prior to Trump, the Republicans were picking the winner anyway. Now it's a matter, in my perspective, the Republic is at stake, and we know that Donald Trump's going to lose. So the Republican Party,
but I want to peel back on that. Not that I want to peel back on whether or not Donald Trump loses. I want to talk about this issue of, because I think you're missing one of the forests for the trees.
All right.
It's because there is a possibility. There are scenarios in which Donald Trump can beat Joe Biden, but the question is whether or not the Republic survives a Donald Trump reelection.
That's a very good point,
and that's the more important point. That
and I was going to ask you this earlier in the program. At the end of the day, I'm not sure if America is better off with Trump's victory in 2016.
Okay, so here's there are several different ways to look at
and
this.
I'm not a never Trumper. I wasn't a never Trumper. I was a never Trumper
So here's
before
the
I became a
thing,
Trump
right?
supporter.
There
But I'm
are
not a never
things
Trumper.
that a second Trump presidency would do very well. And I think some of this is you have folks who are preparing for a new administration to come in and trying to get the right people appointed to the right jobs. All right.
Yes.
That being said, so there are things that would be done administratively that would be good, though I think not as effectively as the first term. I just had a conversation with somebody. You and I both know this person. This person made it very clear that actually I don't want to go down this road. It is just it gets to the issue of people who've worked in previous administrations who would not be working in the new administration given what happened before and the real problems that accrue there. Now, obviously, they're trying to deal with this, but the real issue is hold on, Jerry. Let me just finish my point.
Yeah.
The real issue is, and this gets to your discussion of the survival of the republic, the amount of chaos that would accrue from people claiming, from the Democrats now claiming elections were stolen, to the constitutional questions of the continuing lawfare while Donald Trump is president, while the essentially you would have massive amounts of civil unrest and political unrest, and I take those two in different places. That I see. Anyway, not that I want to predict civil war, but I see a re-election of Donald Trump as hastening the chaos, increasing the chaos.
I think you're right. However, Donald Trump, yes.
But
wait.
Let me just add one caveat real quick. I'm sorry, Jerry, because I meant to add one caveat. I will say that in the end, right, a Donald Trump presidency would be preferable policy-wise, substance-wise, to a Joe Biden, Wes Moore, Gavin Newsom, Kamala Harris, whatever Democrat would get elected, a Donald Trump presidency would be preferable to that from a pure policy substance perspective. Sorry, Jerry, go ahead.
Yes, I don't disagree.
Yeah,
but there's so much here.
Right.
Let me just unwrap it this way. Your premise that there is a chance that Trump beats Biden. Of course.
Right.
Trump is so unpopular. I'm sorry. Biden is so unpopular. He's so deficient. He's such a liar. His policies have failed. You're right. There is a chance, a slight chance that Trump can beat him. Yes. But my belief is your premise is wrong. Joe Biden's name will not be on the line.
Or if it is on the line, they'll find some way of substituting somebody else.
Yes, and I think that
which is I think a more likely scenario.
And I think any Democrat beats any Democrat not named Biden beats Trump. Kamala Harris would be maybe.
I'm not so sure. I listen. I think there are Democrats out there who would be weak in the face.
Wes Moore would
Gavin Newsom. I think
Wes Moore crushes him.
Let's be really clear about this. Wes Moore crushes Donald Trump because Wes Moore is an unknown quantum.
Yes,
it really is Barack Obama all over.
He's an African American. He's a Rhodes Scholar. He's a combat veteran. He's everything.
Right.
And the fact is, people tell me, well, Jerry.
He can mask his ultra progressive policies.
Right, exactly right. And the media will partner with him and he would win. And the only pushback I get are people who say to me, well, Jerry, you just don't understand. There's no way he'll only have been governor for 3 years.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Barack Obama, what was Barack Obama?
He was a senator for 2 years.
Yeah, he was an United States senator. It's ridiculous.
In fact, less than 2 years because he started running for president.
Right.
About a year.
We've never had a lesser qualified candidate for president than Barack Obama.
Yeah.
And frankly, Wes Moore, if he were to start running now, he'd be more experienced. Again, combat veteran, Wall Street corporate executive, nonprofit leader. He is a Rhodes Scholar. He's the first.
Wes Moore is the Barack Obama only with actual executive experience and clear connections to corporate America.
Right, and also, but with policy chops, he's an executive, first African American governor of the state of Maryland, and that matters.
Right. And so in the end, right, but again, all of those things mask an incredibly
he's
extremist agenda.
He's a disaster on policy, but
right.
on paper, he's perfect.
Right. So,
but say this though, real quick. So therefore, I don't think Trump's going to run against Biden. But to your second point, yes, I could never vote for a Westmore, a Harris, a Biden, a Newsom, whoever. The Democrats are so radical, so progressive, so anti-American. I could not vote for a Democrat. But there are lots of Americans who would vote for a third party or vote for a write-in candidate. My point is, even if Trump were to get in, though, I agree with you, his policies would be better. But the problem is, and you see it already, he's already saying that the pro-life movement in the States, he's against what's happening. What? All of a sudden, you're not pro-life? He's also, see, the problem with Trump has always been this. He's on your side until he's not.
Yes.
And the moment he sees an opening to abandon you, who is he loyal to?
Well,
nobody but himself.
Yeah, not even his family. But set that aside for a second. I got a question. Can you walk me through? There was this whole thing about Father Frank Pavone, a kerfuffle a couple of weeks ago. I admittedly, all I know is
what I'm not. I know that he's the president of Priests for Life,
and he was defrocked, and the question is whether he was defrocked because of his politics or whether he was defrocked because he violated church order.
My understanding is he was defrocked because of his politics.
Okay, because for me, is sort of, I see this and I read what Catherine Jean Lopez writes, and I trust what Kayla writes when it comes to stuff happening.
What did she write? I missed what she said.
So Kayla wrote that he really was defrocked because it was becoming all about himself, to the point where he was not obeying orders from the higher church authorities. And when you no longer are obeying orders from higher church authorities,
again, that's true.
Yes.
However, that seems to only be true for priests who are Orthodox, because I can name for you several priests, Jesuits in particular, who are public in their protesting the church's teaching on homosexuality, on marriage, on transgenderism, and yet they're not defrocked.
All right, yeah.
So this idea
I don't know.
So therefore, surmise to say this, and that is, he was sure. Technically, did he break with his hierarchy? Yes, but that's not why he was defrocked.
Yeah,
he was defrocked because he's pro-life, and he stands with the unborn. Because if it was just about church hierarchy, then I could submit to our audience a list of 50 priests this afternoon who are leftists and teach anti-church teaching, but yet they are still priests.
Yeah, but we will also, whether or not they have been subjected to church lawful orders and things like that is a whole thing.
Right.
Just because this whole, as I said this, also working on a whole other issue in terms of life issues. Again, you want to talk about policy, why policy matters.
I don't trust Donald Trump anymore on the pro-life issue.
I understand this.
Not at all.
But my point is, again, talking about the alternatives here. So for instance, our friend Wayne Cruz at CEI has talked about the whole of government approach to regulation, and about how the Biden administration has been using as many different regulatory agencies as possible to advance their agendas.
Brilliant.
Not it's on the environment.
Brilliant. Whoever's managing that at the White House is bloody brilliant, because
and this is, to me, again, why they want to keep Joe Biden in office, because regardless of what Joe Biden is doing, right, they can hang Joe Biden out there and do whatever they want behind.
Yeah, but Wes Moore could do it, and Kamala Harris could do it. And
I think Wes Moore would be more hands-on and apparent about it. But here's my point in the end is, so we've seen this with rulemakings at HHS on abortion and rules of conscience. Now the current one is, and you can all go and check this out. Comments are due on October 11th. Go visit. I'm gonna put in a plug here. cpac.org/EEOC is the website to go visit. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission has a rulemaking right now that wants to extend the law designed to protect the rights of pregnant women in the workplace, the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, not the Pregnant Women's Fairness Act, the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act. They want to now make abortion a pregnancy-related medical condition, therefore subject to the protections under this federal law. I mean, this is the kind of thing that turns plain language on its head. This is it again gets to the point.
Democrats, progressives have turned pregnancy into a disease.
Yeah, and by the way, one of the problems, whatever Republican were to get elected down the road, is they've got to do the same thing in terms of kicking the not anti-regulatory, but the anti-Biden regulatory agenda into overdrive.
Well, listen,
to undo all of this nonsense. The Biden administration announced yesterday they're going to go back and revisit net neutrality again for the umpteenth time, whatever, it's sixth or seventh time now.
Look, this is also a problem with the potential for a second Trump presidency. Number one, he's immediately a lame duck.
Yeah.
Number two, if Trump does win, he wins similarly to 2016. That is, he gets just enough votes in Michigan or Wisconsin, some of these swing states. He wins them by 4,000, 5,000 votes. So therefore, he loses the popular vote again, and it's a squeaker.
Oh, good.
And he has no mandate. And also because the popular vote, he loses. Again, he was crushed by Clinton in the popular vote. I mean, right? Was it 2 million votes? I forget.
Something like that. I mean, I'm not saying that,
he was crushed.
Out of hundreds of millions of votes cast, a 2% difference in the popular vote to me is not,
all right. Well,
crushing, but okay.
All right. I disagree, but regardless. But here's the thing. Donald Trump, if he wins, I think he can't, but if he does, in a very unique circumstance where Biden is still on the ticket, he wins a squeaker, loses the popular vote, has no mandate, and has a Democrat Congress and a Democrat Senate.
Yeah, but the point is, in the end, he can do a whole host of things.
Yeah,
whatever Republican is.
But here's the thing, though: why he didn't do it the first time?
Yes, he did. Absolutely, he did, Jerry. I mean,
it
is unquestionable that Donald Trump delivered on his promises regarding the administrative state.
Let me rephrase, because you are right, but you can be right and wrong, and I can be right and wrong at the same time here. What I mean by that is this: you're right. Once Trump got his footing, he did the whole 2-for-1 with regulations, which was brilliant. He stood his ground on the tax cut and jobs bill. He stood his ground on China and trade. I disagree with my friends on the right. I think Trump's renegotiation of NAFTA and these other trade agreements were exactly what the U.S. needed, which is why manufacturing jobs were growing and coming home. You're right. For the first 2 years, 18 months, whatever it was, but then COVID undid it all.
Right. Listen,
no. But
no argument for me on that.
No. I'm sorry. Donald Trump's COVID policies is really who Donald Trump is. The tax cuts, the regulations, that were people around him, and Trump. Look, we know this because you here. I'm sorry. I'm being wordy. Donald Trump couldn't give a poop about the tax cuts and jobs bill.
Right.
He would have taken any bill. But for the Steve Moores and people like this who said, no, this is it. And yes, Trump had the wherewithal to stand firm. But when it came down to actually policy, the policies that Trump was pushing were the COVID policies. And he was wrong. Outside of Operation Warp Speed, it was Donald Trump who gave us the lockdowns. It was Donald Trump who gave us Fauci. It was Donald Trump who gave us Birx. It was Donald Trump who allowed.
I think you are. I'm going to concur in part, and I'm going to dissent in part on this, Jerry.
Yeah.
Because I think what it underscores is when you have a lack of intellectual curiosity when it comes to the nitty-gritty of public policy, and you're hit with a crisis, you then turn around and you have to rely on experts who may not have your best interests at heart or your administration's best interests. It's interesting because when back in 2015, I will never forget this, I had a conversation with a diehard ever Trumper about Trump's run. And he said, you know something? I don't care that he doesn't know beans about public policy. What I know is that in the end, what Donald Trump wants is what's best for Donald Trump. And because he's going to want to be reelected, therefore he's going to do what's best for America, which is a convoluted way of sort of going down this road. The problem,
except he did what was wrong for America during COVID.
Well, during COVID, right. And that's just it, because in the end, he didn't know, and he didn't have any expertise, and he didn't know who to trust. And so he went down this
and he gave us essentially what, 1.5 years, 2 years of lockdowns.
Well, I mean, in his administration, he gave us, 9 months of lockdowns and craziness. And that was a huge problem. And at the same time, by the way,
you're right. I'm sorry. I'm thinking the election was 2022. I'm sorry. I apologize. You're right.
Yeah. So
he gave us 9 months of lockdowns.
He gave 9 months of lockdowns, but at the same time, he also, because all of his other political advisors had abandoned him, he then did not know how to do this election in this lockdown environment and to pay attention to the fundamentals as to what was happening on the ground in the States.
So he utterly failed, ultimately.
Well, right. I mean, insofar as, ultimately, if we're talking about a football game where there are 4 quarters and you fumble in the end zone in the middle of the the fourth quarter, and essentially that destroys the game.
Yes.
Right. If your defense collapses.
That's a very good metaphor. That's exactly what happened. Donald Trump won the first half.
I would say he won the first 3 quarters and then lost.
I think he won the first half. I think the third quarter draw, 0-0 draw. And here's why I say that, because he could have been more coherent. He could have been stronger and pushing back on all the Russiagate stuff, and it became a shouting match and name calling. But like, for instance, when he fired the FBI, the head of the FBI,
Comey, yeah, not Chris Wray, Comey,
right? That we spent weeks and weeks, if not months, arguing whether or not what he did was an abuse of power.
Right.
And I remember being on the radio saying, why are we even having this conversation? He's the president. He could fire the head of the FBI. But Donald Trump never forthrightly said, this is why I did it, and I have the authority to do it, and then move on.
But the problem, of course,
Trump could never move on.
I don't know if that really matters, Jerry, because in the end, regardless of what Donald Trump says, it creates the debate, right? Donald Trump says he has the authority to classify documents, and then we're spending years debating whether or not he has the
I
power to classify documents.
I agree. But he makes matters worse because
that's you get no argument for me there.
Yeah,
100%.
Right.
And, so that's again, circling back to the beginning.
Yeah.
That's why he shouldn't be on the debate stage, because he only makes things worse.
Well, no, I mean, I want him to make matters worse for himself. Again, let's end this.
I see what you're saying,
and then move on to maybe some guns and some other issues real quick before we have to go, because I know time is running short. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is I stand where I stood when we started this, and that is, if Donald Trump refuses to debate, if he refuses to participate in the GOP debates, then I don't think he should be on the ticket.
I get it. This is why we need super delegates. It's all yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's just yes. And I'm glad he's going to go to the UAW. I think it was brilliant when he thought of it, or whomever thought of it a week or so ago.
I don't think he thought of it. By the way. I think somebody else thought of it.
But he forced President Biden's hand. Biden went, and it was only because Trump was going. And my goodness, Democrats were saying a week ago that Trump outflanked them.
Right.
And that's why Biden went yesterday. But the problem is, and look, maybe we have a quick follow-up later this week.
Sure.
I don't think he's going to say what needs to be said in in a coherent way.
Yes.
In terms of why Biden is wrong for working class Americans.
Well, we'll see. And whatever he says, the media is going to report it however they're going to report it. So let's talk about this, though, because you're right. We talked about Gavin Newsom and Gavin Newsom on the parental rights.
Well, I called you yesterday and I said, hey, I want to talk about Gavin Newsom tomorrow. And Andrew was like, well, we have the debate and we have the looming government shutdown. And let's in a tidy way talk about the shutdown, talk about Newsom. Here's my thing on Newsom, and I can just say it, and then you can respond, and we can even move on. Gavin Newsom just signed legislation in California that raises taxes on those who want to purchase a firearm.
Right.
And then he also then put new limits on if you have the right to carry or if you bring a firearm someplace legally. He is now limited where legally you can bring a firearm.
Right.
And so now there are new regulations and taxes that make it more difficult to exercise your Second Amendment. And I'm reading this news story in the Los Angeles Times, and I'm thinking to myself, why doesn't anyone actually just tell the truth here? And that is the Democrats have allowed these last 3 years for a chaos in our country, yes, predominantly in our cities, where we have retail stores closing because of shoplifting. We have an epidemic of shoplifting. We have an epidemic of chaos and lawlessness. I was in New York City a couple of times over the past several months. There is a sense that anything goes.
Yeah.
And the same thing in Baltimore. I've said this for years about Baltimore City. It's not the homicides. Everyone focuses on the homicides. It's not the homicides. It's the fact that Baltimore City, especially in certain sections, is the wild, wild west. Yeah. You can go to Baltimore and do anything. You literally can go to Baltimore and do anything. And I think people from the suburbs love that, because they can go to Baltimore and they can go to the strip joints and they can have illicit sex with women. They can do drugs. They can get drunk. They can get into fights. There's a lawlessness. Anything goes. You don't have to follow traffic laws. My point is that the progressives have allowed this anything goes mentality to spread all over the country. They have failed on crime. And so what they're doing is they're doubling down on guns. And so you have Gavin Newsom taxing guns, regulating guns, limiting where you can take a gun. You have Wes Moore doing the same thing in Maryland. So you have the progressives attacking guns, yet they do nothing to deal with illegal guns or those who purchase or use illegal guns. And my goodness, in Maryland, you can be caught with an illegal gun, and it's a misdemeanor.
Right.
It's like a traffic.
There was
it's like a traffic
this
ticket.
Case about where was it? Where a guy goes into a mall with an AK-47 with the intent to commit armed robbery and gets off with a slap on the wrist on this. This is what Jerry is talking about here. Is this idea?
And so I don't understand why our Republican friends just don't speak the truth and say this. All this gun legislation is targeting. The legislation targets law-abiding citizens. It does nothing to deal with crime.
Well, let me
that's the truth.
Why is it that and then again, the Cato Institutes? Listen, I don't know a lot of great things to say about Cato these days, but at the very least, Cato was really good about finding the right plaintiffs in the Heller case. Because again, finding people of color who are in poor communities who are now disempowered to act in their own self-defense in an era in which they know that they cannot get police presence. And that's sort of the fundamental issue here is, part of the problem is that the gun lobby has been under attack by the left for years. Actually, the NRA was eviscerated by the left, both in New York and in Virginia and elsewhere. At the same time, the folks who do speak on behalf of the Second Amendment have been demonized and labeled as extremists. And so, there are groups out there, African-American groups that are pro-gun and Latino groups that are pro-gun, but these don't get a lot of play when this is where the focus ought to be, is on these communities that have been disempowered.
You're right. You're 100% right. But I also think that we don't need a fancy argument. We don't need political theater.
No.
One reporter asking Gavin Newsom, Governor, how does this legislation how does this legislation deal with crime and violence and illegal guns?
Right, and the problem is,
and the answer is
that
it does. The answer is it
reporter,
doesn't.
well, right. This is exactly what happened in New Mexico, right, where the New Mexico governor
Right.
put out this state of emergency, and the one time I've ever seen a reporter, I don't know who the reporter was, but asked her, how does this address the crime issue, and she said it doesn't, which is like,
Right.
okay, I can't believe you said the quiet part out loud, but okay, that's great. The problem, of course, is that we're now in an environment in which the reporters who would ask that question are not allowed to go to these press conferences. They're shut out of these press conferences. And the reporters who are let into these press conferences are either on the wrong side politically, or they don't have the intestinal fortitude to ask questions.
This is where even a weak remnant of a opposition party matters.
Right.
Because then what you do is you ask and answer the question. You know what? It doesn't cost anything these days to advertise on talk radio.
Right.
So put up a 30-second ad. Governor Newsom just passed legislation that targets law-abiding citizens. He's doing nothing on crime.
Right.
Boom, there's the ad.
Right.
Wes Moore, it's funny. Wes Moore did the same thing here in Maryland, where the legislature in West Moore signed the bill that doesn't allow you to take a firearm into certain areas, essentially making it illegal to carry a firearm. Right. And again, flies in the face of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and also recent court decisions. But regardless, he was asked, and his answer again was also very telling. He talked about how, well, Governor, how does this deal with illegal guns? And his response was, well, we think having less guns is a good.
Yeah, right.
So again, I'll say this too, and it's provocative.
Hold on. Because I want to explore that, Jerry, because it really isn't about illegal guns, and it's really not about gun violence.
Crime
what it is that for the West Moores and Gavin Newsoms and Joe Bidens and whomever else, whatever mod 1 Mark 0 Democratic politician, getting rid of guns is the goal.
Right.
That's the goal. I'm sorry, Jerry.
So follow up. Why?
Because they don't like guns. Because
it's worse than that.
Okay.
It's because they don't trust you. They don't trust me. This has to do with their complete contempt for the American people.
I don't know if it's a lack of trust, Jerry. I think it is. It becomes like a snake eating its own tail. They just know that their side believes that guns are bad, and guns are bad. Okay. So we got to get rid of the guns. And so we got to get rid of the Second Amendment. By the way, I want to come back to something real quick. I'm sorry for jumping back and doing a throwback here. That's the other part of the issue with Donald Trump winning an electoral college vote and not the popular vote. And we saw this in the polling.
They'll use it to get rid of the electoral college.
Exactly what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
This has all been
another reason why Donald Trump should not be the nominee.
Right. But let me talk about the hastening of the demise of the Republic. I mean, that's the bottom.
It's funny. Again, since you took a step backwards, I was reading in the Old Testament in the book of.
You're really taking a step back here, Jerry.
The book of Habakkuk. Am I saying that correct?
I don't know.
Anyway, and it talks about how the God raised up powerful enemies, actually equipped and raised up powerful enemies to come after Israel.
Yeah.
And Israel, God's chosen people, but they were sinful and they had disobeyed God, and so therefore God was raising up a people to defeat them. And I thought about Donald Trump. Not that God is raising him up. I'm not getting into that. There's a lot of theology or theological theories about Donald Trump and who he is and in the end times. It's all bunk. But the fact of the matter is that Donald Trump, right? You and I agree that you can never vote for Biden. I'd vote for Trump over Biden.
Right.
But ultimately, I'm beginning to really try to wrap my head around, is Donald Trump just bad for America? Because he causes America's enemies to become stronger.
But see, here's the
you see what I mean?
Part of the problem is, Donald Trump is.
And when I say America's enemies, I don't mean foreign enemies. I'm talking about domestic progressive.
But the problem,
enemies.
of course, is that I think that regardless of who the Republican nominee is, maybe they won't react in the same way that Donald Trump will, and maybe the outcome will be different. But the reality is that regardless of who the Republican nominee is,
I agree.
It sort of raises the enemies, and
I agree, but the difference is they will in kind be the same. They will call Romney a murderer. They will say that John McCain is mentally unfit and a racist to be president.
Right.
They will do this tenfold. I get that, but however, Trump doesn't have the wherewithal or the policy chops to respond. I think DeSantis does. I think Tim Scott does. I think Nikki Haley does. I think there's a crop of young Republicans today, all in their 40s, by the way, who have the wherewithal to push back against those unfair attacks. Donald Trump's unable to do.
I watched a speech the other day a mother gave in front of a school board in Wake County, North Carolina, and I sent a message to the chairman of the North Carolina Republican Party, said, you need to recruit this woman to run for Congress.
Yeah, but unfortunately, Donald Trump, for his reputation of being a fighter, he's a horrible fighter. Because
okay, I think Donald Trump, there are things that, again, that Donald Trump does well in terms of fighting, but the part of the problem is, it's like, Lord, what was the movie? The other team's playing with bigger hitters. I mean, Donald Trump is a big ball hitter, but the other, or he is. I don't know. Anyway, I was going to use a football metaphor, but I don't know.
Well, no, I think what he's like a fullback who's good for getting 2 yards, but when you need a big play, when you need a touchdown, he's not the guy.
Well, I don't know. I'm sort of talking about strategy. I would almost say he can throw the ball on occasion. He can run the ball on occasion, but ultimately, when the other team has a defensive line that's much bigger than he is, they're gonna strip him of the ball and run for a touchdown.
Well, the bottom line on that is, have you ever heard Donald Trump give an extended talk and be like, "Oh my goodness, what's he saying?"
Right, of course.
He's never not done that. He's never just given a good speech.
I gotta listen again, right? And this is, as I said, this is why I love Ted Cruz. It's why I love Newt Gingrich. And I know you can't listen to Ted Cruz.
I love Newt.
Yeah, Newt was my guy in 12 maybe. Anyway,
yeah, me too. That's right.
Jerry,
Gingrich.
I want to take a moment of personal privilege here, as the dogs bark.
All right,
I got this gala dinner to go to tomorrow night. Our good friends of the Competitive Enterprise Institute.
Wait, before you go there, let's spend 2 minutes on the shutdown.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm just cognizant of your time.
Here's the shutdown's going to happen. Yeah. It's the Republicans' fault, and they've had all year to meet in committee, come up with the 12 appropriations bills, and then pass them through. They didn't do it, and now we're in this mess.
This is where I come into. I know
on the bus again.
About this. I think it wouldn't have. Listen, I believe in the return to regular order. We have to have a return to regular order. I think at the end of the day, given the way things are up on Capitol Hill, we would still be facing the same result. Not a total,
but at least the Republicans would have done their job.
Sure, I get that to the extent.
I don't think a shutdown is bad. I think it's bad for Republicans because the Republicans didn't do their job. I think, look, you could work hard. You could work like football. We're on football today. You can practice all week. You can go on Friday night and make all the plays, and the other team might still beat you. The problem here is that Republicans never did the work, never put in the time, and now we're at and they already have the media against them, and the establishment against them, and the Democrats against them, and the White House against them.
I think
they did nothing.
I get that. I'm just saying that in the end, you're right. To me, the result, not to me, the result would have still been the same. It wouldn't have mattered. They would have just spent a lot of time putting together these spending bills. On the other end, it would have been a great example to show. Hi, buddy.
Anyway, okay.
So got this gala dinner tomorrow night. Our good friends, the Competitive Enterprise Institute.
Is it a gala in the sense that it's business attire or a black tie?
Well, it's not. Okay, this is the point that I'm raising here. I don't think it's gala black tie gala.
It's not really a gala then. It's a dinner.
Okay, but it's a big fancy dinner.
They should have CI in the past. Their big dinner was always black tie.
When was
Wasn't
it? I'd never gone to a black tie dinner with CEI.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong then. Okay.
All right.
I'm sorry. The bigger groups, it's a black tie.
Sure. You're right. Last year's IWF anniversary gala was a legitimate gala.
And AEI's black tie.
Right. Well, that's AEI.
Encounter Books is black tie.
So my point is the theme is Elvis themed. All right.
I'm all shook up.
And it's always, and that's the thing about CEI is that it's always been about dressing in accordance with the theme, right? What are you going to do? So I got 2 jackets, Jerry. I've got a black and crimson paisley jacket that's really kind of fun with a shawl collar on it, but it's Elvis. Should I wear my cheetah skin, leopard skin print tuxedo jacket, or is that too outrageous given the solemnity of the job that I'm now doing?
Well, Elvis would have wore something like a gold jacket or a pink jacket or.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't have a gold jacket or a pink jacket.
Right. So what are the 2 choices again? Give me the 2 choices
it's a very nice, you know what paisleys are. You
know what? If you want to do this, you should have had both jackets.
You know something? I'm tempted to pause this for a second and go
pause it.
I'm pausing it.
You're doing this.
Jerry is correct. I needed to go grab those jackets, and I hope he doesn't mind. So here is.
Jerry's always right.
What was that?
Jerry's always right.
Yes. So here's the paisley jacket, Jerry.
That's an Elvis jacket, buddy.
What?
That's an Elvis jacket.
Well, okay, but time out. Well, what about this jacket, Jerry?
Oh. Let me see the other one again.
Oh, sorry. It's blending into the background.
You know what? I might go leopard.
All right, but do you think that the leopard, and I'm holding up for those of you listening, I'm holding up a leopard print.
Hey, it's their theme, baby.
All right, okay. So, and the other question is, I'm tempted to go out and buy a very large pair of white rimmed sunglasses.
It's tomorrow. You know, the Elvis glasses you can get online. Overnight, they're like $7. You get them tomorrow morning.
Yeah. But the problem, I'm gonna be gone. I gotta be on the road to DC tomorrow by 7 a.m. So.
If you do glasses, you got to do glasses right though, and it wouldn't be white. You have to get gold. It has to be gold.
You know something? I bet there is a Spirit Halloween somewhere nearby that's already open because it is Halloween season.
You need Elvis wore gold glasses.
Yes, I remember.
With a tint. What you ought to do is put eyeliner on.
I'm not doing that.
Why not?
I'm not wearing eyeliner.
Why not?
Because I'm not wearing eyeliner.
Do eyeliner and then also get your wife to give you. Makeup.
Right, okay. The problem is, Jans, I'm going to be in DC all day, so this is.
Well, all right, you're gonna have to do your hair a little different too, buddy. You're gonna have to use some product, and you're gonna have to comb it up and.
Or I just get an Elvis wig, Jerry. I just get an Elvis wig.
Well, suffice it to say, wear the
leopard.
Yes.
All right, wear the leopard. All right, Jerry, you're on Sunday, aren't you?
I'm on Sunday. Yes. WBAL Sunday. It's Jerry 7 to 10. Andrew, I have the I get the ratings. I got some good ratings going on over there.
I know you do. I have no doubt about that, Jerry. It's and well deserved, to say the least.
Yeah, listen, we're doing all kinds of fun stuff.
We are now at the 2-year mark of my involuntary exile from our good friends at WBAL, and I was at the top of my game when I left. So, you know, it is.
You were.
Hey, with that in mind, I am filling in on, and I'll tease this next couple of shows. Filling in on WMAL for a couple of dates in October, all around that third weekend in October. So I'm very excited about that. So, all right. Jerry, what do you want folks to do?
Rebel. No. Find the truth. Plant your feet. Stand firm. God bless you.
Have a great week, everybody. Have fun, and please stay safe.